So now we'll go ahead and demo Reclined BIO. With Reclined BIO, the condensing lens that you all have is a 20 diopter lens, which is what I'll be using for demo today. With this, there is a certain way that you do have to use the lens. And you'll be able to tell because Volk, as with most of these lenses, have a silver part to the lens. That is going to be facing the patient. For some of you that have silver lenses, it's a little bit harder to see that. So you can go by the writing. So the writing, like 20 diopter Volk, has to be the correct way when the lens is up against the patient. So the silver part, the appropriate part that has to be up against the patient, will be down when you can see the writing the right way. So the patient is already dilated. They're reclined and comfortable such that the patient is about at your waist height. So this may vary a little bit, obviously, depending on the patient, depending on your anatomy, but approximately at about waist height. So with Reclined BIO, again, we do it in a systematic way. Whichever way you feel comfortable with, make sure you do it the same way every single time. It just makes it much easier in the long run. So again, patient is dilated in this right eye. I'm going to start with the superior retina. So I will have the patient look straight back. First thing I do is I put the light in the patient's pupil. Once the light is in the patient's pupil, then I can bring my condensing lens forward. So patient's looking up, so I'm going to be looking at superior retina. Put the light in the patient's pupil, bring the condensing lens so I can see the reflection of the patient's eye. Once I have that, I bring the lens towards me. As I do that, I am filling this condensing lens. No longer am I seeing the patient, just a reflection of the patient's eye, but I'm actually seeing the whole lens filled with his retina. So one more time, look straight back, put the light in, I'm holding the lids out of the way, and I'm moving the lens towards me, and I'm filling the whole condensing lens with retina. Now begins a systematic approach to BIO. Now I have the patient look to this corner here, so up and to your left. I'm placing myself directly 180 degrees away from the part of the retina that I need to look at. And again, light goes in first, then the condensing lens. Now I bring the condensing lens up towards me and I can see the whole retina. So I'm scanning that entire area of retina. Also make a note of how I have my hands, where I'm positioned, so I'm not close to the patient and I don't have my hands also directly straight out. There's a little bit of bend, but the biggest troubleshooting that I could offer when you're not getting a good image is make sure that you are not too close to the patient. And now I have the patient look all the way to your left. Again, I'm standing 180 degrees away, move the lids out of the way. Light goes in the pupil first. I see the red reflex, see the eye, bring the lens towards me. The whole lens now is filling with retina. And as it fills with retina, you are going to be moving a little bit to see that whole area. So it's not just a patch of retina. You do it in a systematic way so that you're seeing the entire retina in that area. And now have the patient look down to your left. Again, move the lids out of the way. If the patient's anatomy gets in the way, if their brow becomes an issue, etc., you can always gently move the patient a little bit and tilt them a little bit so that you get the view that you need. So you will do that moving around the patient, always making it so that you're 180 degrees away from the part of the retina that you want to examine. And then you will ultimately end up on the patient's opposite side. And here is when the last thing you do is you look at the posterior pole. So you turn the patient's face bit. I'm going to have you look at my ear, or you can have the patient look at your shoulder. Again, move the lids out of the way, put the light in first, and there's the posterior pole. Keep in mind that you shouldn't be leaving the light on there more more than about 40 seconds at a time. That is more than enough time for you to get the view that you need, even now at this point that you're learning. So be very cognizant of that as well. And as far as holding the lens, you can hold it the same way, except instead of vertical, it's going to be horizontal. You may need to move it a tiny bit so it's not always directly horizontal, just so that you can eliminate some glare and fill that condensing lens completely with the patient's retina. Once you're done with the posterior pole, you're already going to find yourself on this side. Then you can start with the opposite eye, again, superior, and slowly work your way around 360 until you have seen the entire retina of the opposite eye, ending with the posterior pole.